And I say that meaning by how somebody... What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for coming back for another video. I really appreciate it. And also, I want to take the time to say thank you to all of you who have subscribed. We are one step closer to 1,000 subscribers. And in this video, we are going to be talking about parallel pins and some of the difficulties that I experienced, and also giving you a few tips on how you can improve using pilot parallel pins, because as we know, they are not easy to use, especially for the beginner and even, for the more advanced calligrapher or artist, however you want to classify yourself. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into the video. First, with pilot parallel pen, one of the most difficult things is, really where to hold it at. Sometimes I remember I used to hold it down here, really close to the nib, and now I hold it more so up here. And another thing was having it rest in between this part of my finger, and really not to hold it too tight. And then learning that the angle that you hold the pen at makes a big difference, and really not pushing it, because you pull it towards you. That is one of the things with the parallel pen that you want to remember. And then another thing is the angle that you have it at, and also when to apply pressure, and also how to have the pen tilted. And let's go ahead and dip the pen really quick. So as I was saying, knowing when to apply pressure, and also let me show you a good example. Something that for me, I remember learning it was very, very useful. Knowing how to come in at a certain angle and then flicking like that and lifting. So you have, let me zoom in so you can see. So you could have a nice point like this, and then come like that, and then do it the opposite way. It's just a little flick of the wrist, and then coming in like that. Because if you've noticed right there, I came in really fast, and then I started to slow down. And look at this right here. Start off like that, and then nice and slow. Because the difference with pilot parallel pens, them being cartridge based, compared to if you were using an automatic pen, which is totally different, requires a lot more skill. And before we get out of here, I want to show you what I do. I remember also with pilot parallel pens, that was difficult for me, was finding ink that I could use other than buying cartridges to replace and refill. I mentioned this in my video on how to use pilot parallel pens. No, not how to use, how to refill. And refilling the pens, because as you see, this one is empty, and I like to dip the nib in. You can't even see it. I just dip the nib like that, lift it out, and as you see, got a nice, beautiful purple. All right, as we round out this video, some of the closing remarks, we're gonna do a recap right here. As we close out this video, we're gonna go through some of the things we discussed in the video. 1, do not push the pilot nib away from you, because as you see here, you're going to damage the nib. And I mean, you will damage the nib and you'll damage your paper if you do it enough times. And then you want to remember, bring the nib towards you. And I say bringing it towards you, you're sitting facing the paper this way. The nib is going to go this way, depending on the letter. And right here, you want to focus and pay attention to the different angles of each letter, because that is really going to let you know how to angle the pilot parallel pen, because the nib on the parallel pen is like this. And writing, you will either have the nib tilted like this, or you will have it tilted that way. Or you may even have it straight up, because doing little flourishes like this, that would require the nib to be straight up and even at using the edge of the nib. And here, if y'all remember, I dipped the pilot parallel pen, and I didn't even mention what size this was. This is the 6mm nib. Dip the nib in watercolor ink. You could also refill these using, I use Ecoline or Ecoline. However, it is pronounced in my pilot parallel pens whenever I do get around to using them. Lately, been more, as you all see if you follow me on Instagram, links to my social media are in the description. I've been doing more digital work using my iPad Pro. But this is not what that video is about. This video is about helping you with pilot parallel pens. And remember creating this S here. You see how I started here and came all the way to here at this ending point, and to have like the nice crisp point that you all see on many other people's work, you just come in and you're gonna lift and flick your wrist a little bit away from the paper. So you'll come in like this, like a nice subtle flick, not going like that. Because if you were to flick wrist and lift. What do you do? Slight. Flick wrist and slight lift. Hopefully that makes sense. And right here, coming around here, once I got to this point, I changed the angle of the nib, and I used the point. So I would have the nice thin line. That's one thing that will take a lot more practice. And here, if you remember, when we did this part of the S, as you see, This is all in the angle of the nib. And this could be applied using oblique holders, brush pens. The angles are what determines a lot on how your letters are going to turn out. But before getting into this, you should be doing drills, and practicing letters and then practicing alphabets, because there's no way that you're going to be able to get to having the bit of understanding that I've been able to harness. And just that, me doing the drills first made a lot of this more easy to understand. But back to what I was saying here. So as you saw, I came in fast, and then I started to slow down and ended with a slight flick and lift. The same as I did here. It's really just connecting these 2 points, because I'm a fan of seeing nice connections with the letters. And you know, a lot of this, whenever you're using especially parallel pens, you could see when somebody was doing a piece and they were not confident. And I say that meaning by how somebody's letters are, if they hesitated or if they were confident and they went through a letter and there's no shakiness. But really that could just be also tied to practice. All right. Thank you so much for making it through this video. As always, I appreciate you. And thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to check out the Etsy shop. Link is in the description below. I have new products up for sale, a few prints. I'm going to be doing some stickers, and I'll see you in the next video. As always, thank you so much for the love and support.